Okay, first off, I think I need to more fully explain the title of this video. Every halfway decent poem I've ever written, except for two. Those two are one poem I've already submitted to a Zen Archer video a month or two ago, and I call that particular one the best poem I'd ever written. And the other poem that I'm not going to be reading here, I consider it the second best poem I've ever written, so I guess that's not too much of a build-up for this. Every halfway decent poem I've ever written, except for the two poems which are the best of the halfway decent poems I've ever written. But I took some notes on this, and I apologize, but I just didn't want to leave anything out tonight, because I didn't want to have to re-edit. I'm just kind of my last two projects have been really heavy on the editing, and I just want to do things in one take tonight, no editing, unless I have like a 30-second brain freeze or something. I'm just going to just plow right through here, and I know I'm going to stumble over some of my lines when I read these poems, but I'll just back up, crank her up again, and just keep on chugging along. Okay, so let's see here. And the reason the second poem that I'm not going to be reading here tonight is a poem that I call Lost Creativity. And all of these poems, including that one, have something of a backstory to them, a common backstory to them. And that particular poem, Lost Creativity, is more representative of this backstory I'm talking about than the rest of them. So I will, at some point in the future, I really don't know when, it probably will be my next video, be reading that poem and more fully explaining the backstory on these poems. Okay, for the most part, my poems are really light type fare, which is probably, you can guess that by looking at my videos that I've made thus far. I'm certainly no Poe. I may not even be a poet. I shall try to refrain from wordplay like that in the future. Who am I kidding? No, I won't. So, okay. I really don't know what kind of audience there's going to be out there for this. This is going to be a damn long video, and if anybody makes it to the end of it, I mean, kudos to you. Also, in my very first poem here, I poke a little fun at poetry, so I don't really know that my audience is going to be any people who even like poetry. So I poke fun at poetry just a little bit. So if you're into poetry real heavy, you might not like it. And I guess by definition, if you're not into poetry and I'm reading poetry, you're not going to like it either. So there you go. Maybe I'm just doing this for myself. So if that's the case, then hey, that's good enough for me. Okay. I think there's a little voice in my head telling me that I've rambled long enough, and it's time to get started. So hey, let's do it. First poem, a poetical critique. Why do so many poems have to be so vague? Lively, witty directness would seem to be a better trade. Poetry in general has little mass appeal. People need to understand the situations with which they deal. The flowery phrase is fine if it makes a point. Otherwise, reading it can twist your brain completely out of joint. Alas, to all of this, no traditionalist would ever agree, but many of them wear blinders and refuse to see. If 100 people read a piece of verse and only one understands, then what could be worse? 99 will possibly try no more. They come away empty, feeling poetry is a bore. To call these people dummies, from that you should refrain. It's simply that their minds operate upon a different plane. While the abstract ramblers in poetry do proliferate, To me, they do not seem to be so great. I admire the sharp, clever line. So much the better if a good story it does intertwine. Some would say these thoughts are not worth a dime, but they've got their opinions, and I've got mine. Next up, this one's called Another One for the Desk Drawer. Now, the first line on this says something about the last poem the first line of this is, the last poem I wrote was a year ago, but that's kind of a lie. It's just a little bit of poetic license. Whenever I wrote this 20 years ago, I don't think I had written a poem a year ago. So, like as I stated earlier, all these were written within a 2-month period of each other. Okay, another one for the desk drawer. The last poem I wrote was a year ago. When I'll write another, I do not know. The words, they used to flow so easily. Now I search for a rhyme and make up measly. For that's what this poem is, you know. A few measly words written by anything but a pro. The novel I started, bogged down in the middle, and now all my penless hands' thumbs can do is twiddle. Perhaps someday I'll decide to finish it, but for now it ages, bit by bit. The short stories I wrote fell flat on their face. They were finished, but they never found their place. And though my words might pale beside those of others, they find peace and companionship with a legion of their unpublished brothers. Okay, next. And this next one here, Fernifer, has a mention of WKRP in Cincinnati. I know you mentioned that in one of your latest videos. The name of this is Diminished Quality. I take the control and flip from channel to channel. All my old favorites seem to be gone forever. I search and search, but to no avail. The good shows have vanished into the land of never never. What's this? Yet another nighttime soap. They used to infiltrate only the day. I flip the channels again and again. My old shows, long enough, they did not stay. I run across another mindless game show. Its hyperactive contestants jump up and down. Apparently this must make some people smile, but to my face it brings only a frown. Oh where did Mary Richards go, and Murray, and sweet gentle Lou? I even miss that lovable rascal Ted. The others laughed at him, but they loved him too. How I miss Rod Serling's reassuring voice. Though in reruns, his show and the others are still alive. I've saw them over and over again, at least times 4 or 5. The voice of Johnny Fever fills the airwaves no more. Travis and Carlson's station finally went under, and Jennifer Marlowe has not a phone to answer. There just had to be a quirk in the Nielsen number. And where can someone like Reverend Jim go these days? People like Alex and Elaine will have no trouble, but Jim's brain, like his beard, was in an almost constant state of perpetual stubble. I sorely miss all these people and shows. Oh why did they have to part? Each one broke new creative ground, and for each I reserve a special place in my heart. The next poem is called Writing Class. With high expectations, I walk into this class, though my focus is not limited merely to fail or pass. The outside world is a copying, plagiarous place. Maybe in here there will be a welcome change of pace. Beautifully creative people with fresh ideas are a wonderful thing. With luck, this type of people, this class, it will bring. People who are completely original of thought and not tainted by the stale sameness which the world has wrought. These people and these things are why I am in this room. They are a hope to lift this boring pall of gloom. And if them or I possess no writing skill, still different we be, for at least we have the will. A creative oasis, this place I'm sure will be, a place where creative thoughts can run wild and free. Actually, I stayed in this writing class for 2 days and dropped out. Writing classes are bullshit. You can't learn to write in a writing class. That's just bullshit. Okay, the next one. Poetical ramblings. And I did notice here that most of my stuff, if not all of my stuff, rhymes. And I got a couple of, at least one one little section that doesn't rhyme. I thought about fixing it, but I don't want to. All this was wrote 20 years ago, and I don't want to change any of it. Okay, poetical ramblings. Here I sit as I rack my brain for a rhyme. It seems I have done this for time after time. Syllables and vowels lie scrambled in my head, but the right combination, my brain, it will not shed. I take another drink of wine from a glass. The one I took before, I said it would be my last. I scratch my nose, my ear, my forehead. A person of greater sense would give up and go to bed. Instead, I take another drink of wine from the glass. My head slumps to the table, asleep at last. The first rays of the morning sun flow through an open window. Into my eyes they fall, rousing me with their glow. As if by magic, the right words pop into my head. Now that wasn't so hard, I say to myself as I trundle off to bed. Okay, the next one is just a little bit heavier in tone. So here goes. The name of it is Listen. Listen to the sounds echoing in the distance. Listen to the sounds as they draw ever so near. Listen to the sounds as you hear them all around. Listen to the sounds as the bombs fall to the ground. Listen. Listen to the people moan. Listen. Can you hear the children cry? Listen. Pull the fingers out of your ears. Speak. Tell them to make it stop. Speak louder, for many do not wish to hear. You have heard, and you have spoke. Before it's too late, they too shall listen. Okay, the next one is called Someday, Someday. Each day I need to fulfill a creative urge, but a page, a line, a paragraph, seldom more than that do I splurge. I admire the one who can pick up a pen and go on and on, but after a short time my talent seems to dwindle, and my writing loses its muscle and tone. Hopefully a damned flood of ideas my brain it does hold, but they must be ideas original of thought, the kind which will break the mold. And so I write every word which seeps into my hand, hoping that someday the dam will burst. The joy of that would be almost more than I could stand. The next one, again, this one's also a little heavier of tone. Change via truth. Change must happen from the inside out, whether it be people, attitudes, or countries. That is how it must come about. If something is clearly and definitely wrong, then change it should and change it must, but change it will only if we are strong. For too long, many people cling to distorted views. They haven't thought things completely out. It's up to others to provide them with the clues. Truthful information, that must be the key. If that information cannot be dispensed, then none of us are truly free. Old prejudices are deeply ingrained into the human psyche. Changing them will not be easy. Not everyone is very bright. But everyone has a right to their opinion, though that opinion should be based on all the facts, and whoever should possess them should make that their dominion. And lastly, thank God everybody, Lastly, this one is called Life. Many long years ago, the journey started. Since then, I have traveled very far, and many are the places from which I've parted. The path I've taken has been crooked of line. Some of the places I did not much enjoy, but the decision to go to them was mine. At each place along the way, I learned a lot. I might not have liked what I saw and heard, but many a valuable lesson I got. I've now come full circle, and I'm back where I started. I'm not as young as I used to be. It was a long time ago from here that I parted. Some say I'm no better off now than before, but I know that I am wiser for the experiences, and I know that I wish to experience more. Okay, that's pretty much it. So I've got that out of my system now, and so I can move on to my next project. Except my next project, as I say, will probably be reading the final poem in this menagerie of poems, or block of poems, or whatever you want to call it, to kind of help explain the backstory on all these poems, which are all 20 years old, over 20 years old, and were all written within a 2-month period of each other. So if anybody is still out there watching, just bless you. That's all I got to say. Bless you.